who is the most interesting team to you? Let's start in the Western Conference.
Yeah, I'm going with Dallas just because there's so many moving pieces. I think they're just really fascinating. The big one to me is just how great Cooper Flagg is year one. You know, we've talked about all the special things that he has as a rookie, the defense, the ability to score in transition. It's going to be interesting how much of the ball handling responsibility they give to him initially. You know, if he's actually running pick and roll, if he's initiating in the offense. So just how great he is year one is really interesting to me. How Anthony Davis performs in this new kind of offensive environment is interesting. Playing the four alongside, two non-shooting bigs. He's probably going to be operating more in the mid-range, probably a more jump shot heavy diet. He's obviously super important to the offensive outlook for this team. What does Kyrie look like when he comes back? Can D'Lo float the offense at all? I think is interesting. But the biggest question to me about Dallas is the defense among the best in basketball? And that's where I think this team's biggest strength is, and where maybe they could win a playoff series with this weird Frankenstein-ass lineup. Like, they are going to be huge. Cooper Flagg at the 3, Anthony Davis at the 4, either Gafford or Lively at the 5. They're going to be super athletic, super strong. Like, I just think this is a physical-ass team, and if there's one thing I've learned over the past few seasons, especially last year, the one thing that translates to playoff basketball more than anything else is strength and physicality. And so ultimately it's at balance. How great can they reach offensively? I think they're a little too flawed there to go on a run. AD and Kyrie is your number one. Kyrie coming off an injury, expecting Flagg to have, a lot of responsibility in your offense as a rookie is a little too much to ask. But I think the defense could very well be top 3, and I look at that as kind of a superpower of this team. So they're just really interesting to me. I think there is a really wide range of outcomes for Dallas this season, and just where they end up at the end of the year. If they're winning a playoff series, if they end up in the play-in, there's a lot of different outcomes I could see for Dallas.
My main concern with Dallas, there's this thing that happens with size where once the point of attack is compromised, they start to have to move and to rotate. And then suddenly your size can look a little bit slow-footed. I thought it's specifically in the Charlotte game, you saw a good amount of that with LaMelo Ball, just like immediately breaking their defense down at the point of attack and then just cutting them up. And bigs have this natural tendency to sag off of shooters. It's something that happens from like their early basketball development, whereas like guards, because they're used to playing against elite shooters at their position group their entire life, they have a tendency to be more attentive on the perimeter. And I think Charlotte logged like a 142 offensive rating with LaMelo Ball on the floor against their lineup in that preseason game. By the way, I'm not sitting here saying that I think Dallas's defense is going to be bad. I still think they're going to be an elite defense. I just think they're going to be a team that has some weaknesses on the perimeter, where they're either going to go with playmaking and shooting with D'Lo and Clay and just get cut up at the point of attack, or they're going to go with athletes on the perimeter, which will make their defense elite, and then suddenly their offense will fall off a cliff. Mm-hmm. And then honestly, even with D'Lo and Clay and Cooper Flagg and Anthony Davis out there, I don't think they're going to be good enough offensively to win a lot of these games, especially when they get close late. And so again, they're going to be fun. They're going to be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if they were in that play-in bracket. I don't think they're going to be a disaster or anything this year. And I'm super excited to watch them. I'm a huge believer in Cooper Flagg. But yeah, I think if they were going to be a real dangerous team, they were going to need like top tier superstar Anthony Davis. And he came into camp bigger than he's ever been. And yeah, I know he hit some jump shots against Utah and had a nice little breakout game the other night, but I don't like the way he looks athletically right now at all. And I'm kind of disappointed in that, because I was hoping he'd come out on a revenge tour after getting traded for Luka. But yeah, I view them as I view them as like an elite statistical defense that'll have some points of entry that'll make them score on a bull. And then I think on offense, they're going to be extremely limited.
It feels like they're in this weird spot where they have insane depth. And so theoretically there's a ton of lineup versatility there, and there is. But you are always compromising something with whatever combination you go with. I think you said it well there, Jason. So that's going to be particularly challenging until Kyrie gets back. However, I am so interested by the Mavericks. They would be my choice as well for the most interesting team in the West. Like, the range of outcomes, like you said, Logan, it's wide here. We just saw a preseason game where this team started Cooper Flag, Clay, PJ, AD, Lively. It's like the biggest starting lineup of all time. And like, yeah, I have major concerns about that group offensively. And just straight up, I think that Flag is going to be overtasked until Kyrie gets back. Now, I think there are potential silver linings there in terms of what that does for his development, having to take on that challenge. But as much as I think he is a great all-around player immediately with his defensive versatility, his offensive versatility, and he could be like a top 50 impact guy as a rookie, the one specific limitation he has is that handle and the ability to comfortably get by people. And I just don't see primary ball handler in him right now. I don't even know if I see really secondary ball handler in him right now. And he's going to have a huge ball handling burden for this team. And I think we've already seen it in preseason, the tendency to settle for pull-up jumpers, right? He's not really like super comfortable handling and gathering in traffic and this stuff that ultimately for the Mavs to be a decent offense without Kyrie, he'd have to do. And then D'Lo comes with his own issues, even though I think he was a good value add for them offensively just to supplement, some of what Kyrie could do for this team until he gets back.
Yeah, really smart move, I thought.
It was, because D'Lo obviously just had a down year, but if he gets close to the level he was at 2024 offensively with the Lakers when he was shooting the shit out of the ball, like, that's about as good of a Kyrie substitute as you're just going to find on the scrap heap. Yeah. And I think come playoffs, they're barely going to play him, probably. So exactly. I think he's fully just a stopgap here. But I'm nevertheless, like, fascinated by these decisions they are going to make, even knowing they have their limitations. Like, what they can do on the wings. Do they want the shooting of Clay, which I think is probably most essential for this team? But then they can also go with, like, a Najee Marshall, who I love, as the point of attack defender, as a guy who has more ball handling, more playmaking. But the shooting is very inconsistent with him. Then you've got a Max Christie who's like a nice point of attack defender, solid offensive player, catch and shooter. And then you look at the front court and it's like, okay, how much are we really going to see AD at the 4 with the center? I think a lot, because otherwise, well, you're going to want to trade either Lively or Gafford. Like, you're just kind of wasting them if you aren't playing both those guys 24 minutes a game and getting 48 minutes.
Lively looks great.
Lively is good. I mean, they just extended Gafford, so they're clearly committed there. I don't like that as much for AD, just straight up. I know he always wants to play the 4. I think he's better at the 5. I think he can totally anchor your defense at the 5, and offensively, I just think he's better when he isn't put in a position where he has to play from the perimeter at the kind of volume he's going to have to here. So I kind of think their best look might be like, let's go with Najee, Coop, and AD, or PJ, Coop, and AD, and like do a front court like that where they are faster and they still have really good size, rebounding. I mean, especially PJ, Flag, and AD, that's still a huge front court. That's still elite backline defense and rebounding, and you don't have to be like playing 2 straight up centers, because that's effectively what AD is, if we're being honest. They're going to have to figure out what are the combinations they're going to go with. Ultimately, I don't think their offense can be good enough for them to be like a contender, but I am high on the healthy Mavs. It's going to be the biggest burden on Kyrie as a ball handler and a creator that he's had in a long time once he is back. And I still don't know that there's enough shooting and ball handling here, or that he's enough of an offensive number 1, that he's enough of an advantage creator and playmaker to really float them to the place where they can scare these elite teams. But I do think the defense is going to be pretty damn good. I think they're going to challenge Houston for being the best rebounding team in basketball. And I think the offense can be solid once you get Kyrie in there, because I think that AD, Flag, Clay, all these guys can still do really good things offensively. You just don't want them overtasked, which they are going to be for a lot of the year. But I'm fascinated by all the Texas teams, man. I do think Dallas is going to look so different for game 1 compared to game 82. I think we could get 25 games into the year and they're below 500. And then I think Kyrie could come back in their last 25 games. They could go 19-6. Like, that's kind of the season I'm expecting from Dallas. I think they'll hit their stride when it matters most, and they'll be a team you don't really want to see in the first round of the playoffs.